before we dive into a couple Sunday games, I just want to ask you about a game that last year lived up to the hype. I mean, Harbaugh finally get over the hump. I think I heard you probably know the stat. I don't think Michigan's won at Ohio State in like 2 decades. I think 22, in 22 years. 7.5 points. It sounds like Blake Corum is
Corum.
going to be healthy. Corum, who's a stud. Obviously, he got dinged up in that game. Now, Illinois' defense is pretty good. I'm biased on this one. I'm rooting for Michigan. It does feel like it's you look up and it's going to be maybe hard for them to hang with them. If Blake is not, I mean, he's been one of the best players in the country, and it's hard to hurt your knee, get pulled out of a game, and just a week later be back to 100%.
Yeah, that's I think one of the keys to the game. It's one of the hardest Michigan Ohio State games I've ever tried to handicap, because if you look at what these teams have done this year, they've obviously been very good, but their schedules have been extremely favorable. So they just have out-talented so many teams. I mean, Michigan,
the Big Ten's way down this year, right?
Big Ten's way down. And then also, I mean, you look at Michigan's non-conference. We had no data points there. They played like Hawaii, Colorado State. Like
joke.
they have the easiest non-conference strength of schedule in the entire country. Yeah, and the Big Ten is down, and like Michigan did dominate Penn State, but Ohio State gave up a bunch of points to Penn State. They gave up a bunch of points last week to Maryland. So there's questions about that defense, specifically in the secondary, but McCarthy and that Michigan passing offense have been dreadful for about a month.
Bad.
I mean, he's completing like 45% of his passes. Now they're able to just get away with it because they're feeding Corum, and their backup running back's also been out, who's a stud, and Donovan Edwards. So if Corum can't go, I mean, when he's on the field, I think I saw a stat. He gets the ball 91% of the time when he's on the field. He touches the ball. It is insane. He is their offense. And if he's not fully healthy or can't go, it's going to be a struggle for Michigan to keep up, because the Ohio State offense, it hasn't been as explosive as many thought, and they're missing the Jigba is one of the best receivers in the country. Now Harrison might be the best receiver in the country, but they've had some injuries to their running back room, but they still should be able to score points here. And then can Michigan keep up? I don't know. It's hard for me to say, just because the lack of data points on what we've seen from these teams against quality competition. But yeah, I mean, it feels like an Ohio State revenge. Michigan was after last year was talking all kinds of shit, doing it again this week, and might not end well, but it's a tough game to handicap. The line's probably about right, which is what that means.
Okay, as of recording this, we don't know for sure who our boy Robert Saleh is going to go with, and my guess is he kind of keeps it quiet throughout the week than just announcing something on Wednesday, but could be wrong there. Clearly, Zach Wilson is terrible. He is
awful.
He's bad. So I think we'd all be a little stunned if maybe they just don't give him a breather week. Now the Bears, I watched a lot of that game. I mean, he got fucking crunched. He got hit all game, but I mean, that shot where he got shot on the shoulder, I thought should have been kind of a late hit. It feels, I think Eberflus said he's day to day, but I mean, it feels like he's been taking a pounding. I read a stat. He leads the league. He's been sacked the most in the league. Obviously he's running it a lot. So he has taken hellacious hits. Maybe you might need to give him a breather. So it does feel, if they go with the backup quarterback, I mean, the Jets defense can just kind of win the game on their own if their quarterback can just complete basic wheel routes. You like the Jets in this spot?
I do. I think that, and I'm assuming that Zach Wilson is either not.
Do you think he'll get benched?
Yeah, I do. I think he's either not gonna start, which I wouldn't, or if he's ineffective right away, he's getting pulled. Right, and Flacco is an upgrade. I think Mike White might be an upgrade at this point. I don't think you can play him. Not because he's been so bad, and we've all been screaming how bad he is forever. You're going to lose the locker room. His arrogance, his lack of accountability. He was asked, you scored 3 points, and like I said, they had 2.5 inches per play. They had 2 yards in the second half. It was 3-3. He asked, did you let the defense down? He said no. What do you mean? Just say yes. Yeah, we got to do better on offense. It's the easiest answer you could have. And he says, no, we didn't let him down. Of course, insane arrogance and lack of accountability, which it doesn't speak well to his leadership ability. And if I'm on the defense, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He can't complete a pass. And I mean, he couldn't complete a basic wheel route. And he's saying, no, I didn't let the defense down. And every week we're going out there and balling out. I mean, the defense is great. They've shown that week in and week out. They can get pressure
and
without
nothing
blitzing.
pisses guys off more when a guy's a high pick, and then he's also
Yep.
arrogant and he sucks. So he's making a lot of cash. It's the perfect combination for a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, just say yes. We let him down. Not that difficult. So yeah, I think you got to make the change. So I either think that you're going to get the change beforehand. I would, or if Wilson's bad right off the bat. Now he's playing against a really bad defense. If he's bad right off the bat, I think they're going to pull him. We'll have the shortest leash ever. Or he might be okay. He's playing a bad defense. And then on the other side, yeah, I don't think that it's kind of been a dream season if you're a Bears fan, because the Bears, what you wanted to do is find out about Justin Fields, right? And he's shown that he can, put up massive numbers, and he took a big leap. But you're still losing games, but you're losing them close.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, I saw what I needed to see with Fields. And they also hinted we don't know, it could be season ending, just how they're talking about it. Why would you throw him out there? You saw we needed to see your quarterback. You're not going anywhere. Now it's all about, just draft position and keeping him healthy. And now, he was getting hit all day against the Falcons. Now you're going up against a Jets defense. They can get pressure from all over, and they can shut down their receivers. So yeah, I think this is a good spot for the Jets where, like you said, just complete some wheel routes and the defense will do the rest, especially if they're going against Trevor Siemian, which I think is a better chance than not of being the case.
I'll be honest, I haven't been super locked in on your squad, the Ravens, but every time I look up, they are just in a game that feels like, how is this thing so close? Lamar started fast that first month, but just looking statistically, they have not been as potent offensively. What's going on? And this is kind of a weird spot against Jacksonville, who should suck, but I just kind of expect to look up and it's like, oh, it's 10-10 in the third quarter.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the Jags have been competitive all year. They've lost, they have 7 losses. 6 were by 1 possession. The 7th was against the Chiefs at Kansas City by 10 when their kicker missed a couple of field goals. So they've been competitive, and they have a bye here, which, historically is worth about a half point, which I think is more important in certain cases. Later in the year, they're as healthy as any team in the NFL right now. So they have no injuries, but also to prepare for a unique offense like the Ravens, you get 2 weeks all right, let's make sure we take out their tight ends and take out Lamar, because that's basically the Ravens offense right now is just a mess. I mean, they really missed Rashad Bateman. They really missed just a reliable running back too. I mean, that's their offense is predicated on running the ball.
Yeah.
And it's not a simple rushing attack. And I mean, last week you had, Kenyon Drake ran 10 times for 40 yards, and he missed a couple assignments. And so, you're missing, Mark Andrews has been banged up. Ronnie Stanley, who's been great, he got hurt again. So yeah, I mean, your receivers on the outside are Devin Duvernay and Demarcus Robinson and James Prochet. It's not an electric offense. But they need to get, they got to get Gus Edwards back eventually, and then him get going, and they got to get Mark Andrews fully healthy. They got to hope Stanley's healthy. Their defense is going to be good. It's only going to get better. And you add Roquan Smith, and then you got a bunch of other guys healthy. But yeah, I think that the Jags can be feisty here. The Ravens just aren't a team that's going to build big margin. Like you said, they just play close games. Jags off a bye here. Ravens on a nice winning streak, not against anyone that impressive. And they got the Broncos coming home next week. It's such an easy schedule the rest of the way that they're kind of you saw that last week. They just came out flat to start the game. So I could see that happening here at Jacksonville. Game probably ends field goal.
I'm going to get you out of here on this just because on paper, start the season, it looked like a pretty sweet Sunday night game. Obviously the Packers are 4-7, but is there any value in the Packers getting 7 points? I know Aaron was really shitty in that Thursday game, but they've had a long layoff now. Eagles just haven't been quite right these last couple weeks. Definitely, struggling to score. Just feels like 7 points, Aaron Rodgers. Now, the version we saw on Thursday night, that was was not the normal Aaron Rodgers. Like he missed some pretty layup throws that he used to make in his fucking sleep. So if that's the guy, I mean, it's a little Russell Wilson-esque, like just stay away from that team. But
yeah,
it doesn't feel like it just felt like he was cold. He was off, but who knows? Maybe the season is just shot for him. 7 points, Green Bay. Maybe I'm living in the past, but it feels like that's a value number.
Yeah, it's Pack or nothing there. The Eagles have some injuries. Jordan Davis, who obviously hurts their
They can't stop
defense.
the run. So if you get the Packers,
that's what the Packers are going to lean on here. Eagles play a lot of zones. So you can get Rodgers and some short passes. Randall Cobb, the ageless Randall Cobb, might have a big day in the slot because the Eagles are missing their slot corner is really good in Avonte Maddox. They're also missing Dallas Goedert, who I think is really important to their offense, not only up and down the field, but especially the red zone. I think you're seeing that recently. I think it's Packers or nothing. I do have a little hesitation just from that performance the Titans were playing, they don't have any elite edge rushers. They weren't getting tons of pressure, and they were playing all kinds of backup corners. So all year with this Packers offense, they've had a makeshift offensive line. No one's been healthy. They obviously don't have the best receivers. And so no one has been open. No one's getting separation, and the offensive line isn't protecting Rodgers. So like you're seeing these throws where he's just got to get rid of it. But that was like one of the first times for a full game. He had time. He had wide open receivers over the middle. So could it be one bad game? Of course. But I'm like, all right, wow, this is do I have to downgrade Rodgers and say like maybe he's getting to the end, and when does that drop off happen? That game was scary to watch just because he had time, and there was actually guys wide open for once on like critical 3rd and 4th downs. But I think at 7, it's Packers or nothing for sure.
Here's what I know: if Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are headed down a path of not being very good anymore, those two teams are fucked because they just gave a massive amount of money to both.
Yep. Yeah, and then
there's no getting out of those contracts.
Yeah, throw the Rams in there too. That's a franchise that looks like it's going to be in trouble for a long time. Thank God for Les Snead that Tart dropped that interception because.
Well, if you tell me that McVay and Stafford call her quits at the end of the year, I Googled it. Matt Stafford's made $300 million. Now his elbow shot, and he's got 2 concussions in like 14 days. Like, what's he doing this for?
And you got no draft capital. They're going to be in trouble for a while.